2010 was an incredible year for gaming, and so many great video games came out in all types of genres. Today I'll be taking you through a list of the 10 biggest, best and most memorable games from 2010. I want to say that this list is not solely based on how good the game actually is, and some less highly reviewed games that are very well known might get picked for this list over a tiny indie game that not many people knew back in 2010. There will also be no spoilers to any of the game stories. The first game on this list is Mass Effect 2, which is an action RPG set in space in the 22nd century. You're allowed to pick your character's gender, military skills, name and appearance. The main explorable area in this game is a galaxy map where you can find quests that mostly consist of gun combat, but some quests are more about interacting with other characters or visiting different locations. When progressing through the game's quests, you can earn XP like in many other RPGs, and when you level up you earn squad points which can be spent on the game's skill tree. The main way of getting in between settlements and other locations is a starship where you can upgrade your army and scan for resources. The combat in Mass Effect 2 is focused around fighting with your team against varied enemy types that are either aliens or humans. The plot takes place in 2183 after the events of the first game, but I won't be talking much about the stories of the games on this list as I don't want to give away any spoilers. Mass Effect 2 reviews are very impressive, 96 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is critically acclaimed. Next up is Fallout New Vegas. This is another action RPG, but it is set in a completely different setting. The world of Fallout is set years after a massive nuclear war that took out most of the world, and New Vegas is based on the city Las Vegas, which is surprisingly one of the most intact cities left. In this post-apocalyptic world, you can interact with NPCs, and the game allows for many different conversations and dialogue options. As you explore the open world, you can engage in combat using guns, melee weapons, and explosives. The tone and vibe of this world is extremely sad and dull, and some decisions throughout your playthrough have a massive impact on the outcome of the story. New Vegas is actually a spin-off that Bethesda decided to make after Fallout 3 and is technically not part of the main series, even if its sales numbers are up to par with the mainline entries. Overall, Fallout New Vegas is a great game, especially if you like the post-apocalyptic setting, and it received an 84 rating on Metacritic. Next up is the biggest indie game of 2010, Limbo. Limbo is another game with a dark atmosphere, but they are dark in completely different ways. Limbo is a 2D puzzle platformer game with a horror theme and uses a black and white color theme with film grain and minimal sound design. Its atmosphere is eerie, and you play as a boy navigating through dark environments. The gameplay is very minimal, with movement, jumping and climbing being nearly all of the gameplay mechanics. Where Limbo shines is the puzzles and environment, and on your search to find your sister, Limbo tests you with traps using machinery, magnets and gravity. These puzzles are most fleshed out part of the gameplay, with there being no combat. The player's movement is very floaty, and the graphics are simple but mysterious. The music here is very subtle, only adding to the eerie feeling of the game. There's not much else to say about Limbo, but I will say that it got a very high score of 90 on Metacritic. We are now halfway through this list, and I would like to mention some amazing games that were released this year but did not manage to make it into the list. These are Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Heavy Rain, StarCraft 2, Super Meat Boy, Civilizations 5 and Bioshock. Anyway, let's get back to the games that actually made it onto the list. Nintendo's main focus is children's games, so when they bought the license to the Bayonetta series, it was a huge step in an unknown direction. Bayonetta 1 takes place in a fictional European city called Vigrid, and you play against bosses much larger than you that are loosely inspired by Scandinavian mythology. The combat system is very similar to the hack and slash combat of the Devil May Cry series, and when Nintendo bought the series, they probably saw a gap in the market as there weren't many big hack and slash games in the series in the time. The sequel, Bayonetta 2, which was Nintendo's first Bayonetta game, had a brighter and more colourful tone with more fluent gameplay. All three of the games in the series have heavily sexualized character designs, which is a well-known feature of the Bayonetta franchise. After its release, Bayonetta was received very well, and critics loved the soundtrack, graphics and gameplay, but also was not perfect, with less positivity surrounding the story and quick time events. Bayonetta received a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic, which definitely earns it a place in this video. Next up is a genre that wouldn't usually make it into one of these videos, but the game is so legendary that it had to be included. Rock Band 3 is a rhythm game where you can use actual instruments to play a large selection of songs, and there are 7 instruments that you can choose from. The gameplay is obviously the main selling point here, with 83 songs on the best set list in the series history, and a well-crafted career mode where you tour the world, performing at many different concerts with unique songs. If the normal difficulty is too easy for you, or you're more serious in the way you play these types of games, the Pro mode is basically a hard mode but with multiple other additions such as just being more difficult. In Pro mode, the game is not just a button masher but is actually teaching you how to realistically play instruments, that you are being able to pair real life instruments to the game and play how you'd actually need to in real life. This not only attracts normal gamers to the game but is also a fun way for musicians to practice playing their instruments with game-like mechanics being optional, as there is just a free play mode. If this already massive music library in the game isn't enough, you can also purchase any of the DLCs that add up to an insane 1,400 possible tracks for Rock Band 3, which is by far the largest song library in any Rock Band game ever. Of course, most casual players will just use the plastic default instruments or a controller with only the base game songs. The addition of the DLCs and real instrument connection definitely sold the game to a whole new audience. Overall, Rock Band 3 was and still is one of, if not the greatest rhythm game of all time, and received an incredible 93 on Metacritic. Another game that was one of the highest rated games of the year but for completely different reasons was the original Xenoblade Chronicles. Xenoblade Chronicles is a series that is a favourite for so many Nintendo fans, and this is because it is one of Nintendo's only open world RPG game series, and especially the in-depth dialogue and innovative combat systems can compete with the very well-known series in this genre such as Final Fantasy or The Elder Scrolls. Its story is also very ambitious for a game exclusive to Nintendo consoles, and the first game does especially well with making the whole world feel cohesive, having a story that ramps up very quickly instead of taking a long time to get interesting, and having a very memorable and interesting protagonist. The combat in Xenoblade Chronicles is a main focus, with real-time combat involving your team members joining in on the fight. Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the most loved game series of all time, and the original game received a 92 on Metacritic for its main console, the Wii. Meanwhile, there was another great series being released on PlayStation hardware called God of War. While the reboot on PS4 was heavily regarded as one of the best games in the series, before 2018 God of War 3 definitely took that title in most people's eyes. The game was already really hyped up as it received the award for most anticipated game in 2010, but once people started to actually play God of War 3, they were extremely impressed by the leap the series had taken since its last game, but also how it improves on the already great God of War series. The combat was very much still focused on a combo-based combat system, but there was a whole new magic system compared to the second game, and there was also way more enemies to fight. The God of War series is set in an alternate version of ancient Greece, and in this storyline you meet many other Greek gods while playing as Kratos, which is basically the personification of strength in ancient Greek terms. The game was released to great reviews and will appeal to a much broader gaming audience compared to something like Xenoblade Chronicles or Rock Band. God of War 3 received a 93 on Metacritic and is thought to be a worthy entry into the legendary series. Next up is a game from one of the only game developers who probably deliver better quality games than God of War's creators, Santa Monica Studios, which is Red Dead Redemption from Rockstar Games. At this point in time, there hadn't been a large-scale, good open-world Wild West themed game, so when a developer as legendary as Rockstar announced they'd be making a successor to their 2004 game Red Dead Revolver, many fans around the world definitely felt really excited, giving Red Dead Redemption a very high quality rate they'd have to pass for their fans to feel satisfied. The actual world of Red Dead Redemption consists of parts of western United States and North Mexico, and you can explore the deserts, towns, and grasslands by foot or on your horse. The central gameplay mechanic of this game is definitely the gunfights, and there is a power that you acquire that allows you to slow down time and aim your shots more precisely. The development for this game was extremely expensive and time consuming, but the end result was a very impressive game with an amazing story played by over 25 million people around the globe. The only pure first-person shooter on this list is the first game in the Metro series, Metro 2033. This game is based on the books of the same name and is set after a nuclear war where people have to take refuge in the tunnels under Moscow. The main character must protect his people and home from the dangers lurking in the underground metro. The game was mainly praised for its creepy, dark environments and interesting plot. The enemies in this game vary but are mostly humans or mutant creatures. The weapons usable in the game are mostly guns, but there there are also still some rare bows in the game. The gameplay heavily focuses on survival horror style, so you are often trying to find ammo, medkits, and other supplies, as well as managing your current supplies carefully. There are different ways to play through the main story, as how morally kind you are to the people living within the tunnels can verify the ending you get. Metro 2033 was the first game in a legendary trilogy, but it only received a 77 on the Xbox 360. If you buy how most people will play the game these days, Metro 2023 Redux, which received a much higher 90 score because of many different improvements made on the game. The final and probably most well-known game on this list is Super Mario Galaxy 2. Many people debate whether this or the first game was better, but the truth is that even if the original game is better, it is one of the greatest games of all time for many different people, so beating it would be extremely difficult. Mario Galaxy 2 was released for the Wii after the immense success and critical acclaim of the first game, and it did not disappoint. This game continued the more linear design of the first game, where each level is set on one or more planets, but it brought many new additions such as new power-ups, the removal of the life system, a hard mode, and the use of Yoshi in many levels. Yoshi is a massive part of this game, and this is proven with Yoshi actually being on the front cover of the game. The planets that you explore are grouped into galaxies, and each galaxy has a distinct theme, mostly similar to the default Mario theme levels. Later in the game, you can even unlock Luigi, which is a fun addition, as playing as the same character can get pretty repetitive. Nearly all of the gameplay consists of the normal 3D Mario platformer, but there are also quite a few boss fights, some of which have become pretty legendary, and one even got a Mario Kart 8 course themed after it. There isn't much else to say about Mario Galaxy 2 other than it being an incredible game that is proven with its Metacritic score of 97 out of 100, making it one of the greatest video games of all time. 2010 was arguably one of the best years of the decade for gaming, and it started off the 2010s with so many great games. If you would like to see another one of these videos for another year, please comment which year down below, subscribe, and watch this video recommended for you.